You have to agree to the fact that they're recording. Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Steve. How are you?
Good morning.
Where are you this morning, Larry?
We are in Annapolis visiting friends who are going to Ireland, and we're going to start watching their dog tomorrow.
Nice.
So I just went running. Hope you don't mind. I just got back. So
good for you. I'm a little envious.
they live in a beautiful.
Where in Annapolis? What neighborhood is that?
So this is right next to Arnold on the other side of the bridge.
Yep, over Riva. Yep.
And this is the Severn River right here.
Yeah, I lived in Annapolis for years.
Yeah, I know.
And I love that town. It is different than it was back when I lived there, though.
Yeah.
Sort of everything from. It didn't look like it does now. Now it's a city. It's really an exurb of DC.
Yeah.
So, what's on everyone's mind?
I was going to ask Larry if he ripped off 20 miles this morning.
No. 4.
Oh, that's good. Good for you. Cheers.
4 with pull-ups. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not run. I ran 1. I walked 3, but I did a lot of pull-ups. They have pull-up bars a mile away from here. Along the canal.
Is that little part? I know where you were.
Yeah.
Awesome. It was in that park that I suddenly realized that I had moved far enough south that I had moved to where the birds went for the winter. So anyway, well, guys, it has been busy. It has been busy here. Yesterday, I was in demos and meetings from the first one kicked off at 9, and I wrapped up the last one a little before 7 p.m. So a lot of good activity. Had a it's fun. People are absolutely loving what we are offering, and that's gratifying, right? The guys are coding the CEO insights right now, and I know I said 6 weeks last week, and I've been doing this long enough that I'll say 6 weeks again this week, but somewhere in the 4 to 6 week time frame, we'll have CEO insights, and then we'll really start having some fun. So, one of the things I was thinking about as I walked in this morning was, what do you two think of the idea of putting the shareholders' intent on that's the first thing the first block in a strategic plan? You're muted, Larry.
Yeah, share a little bit more on that.
So, hey, Bob, good morning.
Hello. I'm in the dark.
Bob in the dark.
That's not the first time.
What I mean by that is we start our conversation about strategic capacity with effective senior leadership. And the first question, the first key result in our OKR system, effective senior leadership is to ask whether the shareholders have defined their goals for the business, had made them time bound, and communicated them to the senior leadership team. So you, Madam CEO, let's put on your shareholder hat, or CEO hat, right? But let's put on your shareholder hat. Let's talk about your long-term intent for this business. What does this business need to do for its shareholders over the long term? And that is part of the growth conversation, right? Because I think typically what we see, we know this to be true. Typically what we see is, well, the business at some point is going to have to have, contribute to my family's long-term wealth, right? And that's an important part of the growth conversation. So, okay, well, if we're going to start with shareholders' intent, and businesses exist to generate a return for the shareholder, and we want our clients really best practice is to be focusing on the business, on maximizing the business's value, rather than simply revenue. Should we start a strategic plan by saying, okay, here is the shareholders, plural, whatever, stated intent. Boom. Then we can get into, because that becomes our mission, if you will. Then we can get into our strategy to deliver on that intent is, summarized here. And then our capacity to move from where we are today to this stated intent is, we have the analysis to report on that capacity, and that report of capacity inform the strategic steps we're going to take to reach the shareholder's strategic intent. Does that all hang together?
On shareholder,
Yeah.
can it be someone who's not an owner of the company?
That's
Stakeholder, shareholder, and shareholder, you're being specific to ownership.
interesting. Well, I am being specific to ownership because the business is their property. Now you can, we often see this being the same person who's the shareholder, the CEO, and the president, right? But, but it also, by the way, on this next report, you would select, yes, I want to include this.
I bring it up because there are many different scenarios. So one scenario is
Hi, Ed.
there's, hey, Ed. One scenario is there's a managing partner of the company, but an equal shareholder to four others who have lesser roles.
Yeah.
There's a husband and a wife, and the wife is running the business. Or there is the owner of the company, but he's giving out 3 points here, 2 there to senior executives. So shareholders can be many different levels of involvement in the business.
Agreed.
And they could also, in terms of their intent, and I've seen this firsthand, not have the same intent.
Yes.
So one's view is let's grow with a defined destination, and the other could be I grow, but I want to do this for years because I'm 10 years younger than you. And the other could be I'm just happy doing what we're doing. Why do we have to rock the boat? And there's conflict, disagreement in those key shareholders, how they see the business.
Yeah.
Which is great discussion.
Great discussion. Yeah, absolutely. Huh.
But I think the
I
optimum is to
personally-
find a spot that says, here's a road that can lead for all of us to a common agreement in the next 5 years.
And
each year we'll have to readdress that issue.
yeah, and the goal can be a weight. We talk about these goals as waypoints and the immortal business. And I don't know why I always do this hand thing, because I see the business growing, continue to grow into the future. But we see this as an immortal business. So the shareholder's intent need not be a destination, but it should be a well-defined waypoint. And it could be a waypoint that's a phase line, right? That is we're going to cross that phase line, military term, right? That when you cross a phase line, you typically trigger certain actions. And so that shareholder goal might be seen as a phase line. And I might be saying, Larry, to your point, and shoot holes in this, please. Okay, I own 70% of the business, and the other 30% is owned by, by this group of people. At that phase line, I would like to sell my share of the business to you guys, to an outsider, but I'm going to want to monetize. What's interesting though, so thoughts on that, concept?
I think if you're going to talk about the idea of monetization of it, the agreement should be shared that my objective is to achieve some level of continuing growth during the 5-year period or whatever that timeline is, so that I can monetize effectively when I want to leave the company.
Well, and Ed, what you're implying, and I like it, is, and maybe Larry, this is what you were getting at, is trying to teach transparency, right? So
Absolutely.
rather than saying, yeah, you guys have 30% of the business, but this is, this is how I'm going to treat information. That transparency is so incredibly powerful and transformative if and when we can get the CEO to be transparent. Now, the CEO may say, I don't want to tell anybody that. Great, we need to respect it. It's their business. We can disagree, but it doesn't mean we should, run in the other direction.
I think this is a great opportunity to do what Ed, you just said, in terms of defining some destination or goal, year 3, 5, that in addition, state where there is alignment and where there is non-alignment within the shareholder group. So here, here's an agreed upon or recognized destination goal. Here's where you're aligned currently to achieve that, and here is a shareholder group where you're not aligned. Because I contend that I don't care what we identify through our analysis that they have to address: sales, marketing, finance, whatever it is. And if there is conflict and non-alignment to some extent, they're never going to be able to lead that together to achieve that. So I have worked on that more than anything else with like a husband and wife who own the business and see the world differently, right? Do you both want to have a goal of EBITDA X and revenue Y in 5 years? Absolutely. Those numbers they could agree, but how you get there and how you see that and then beyond was very different between them. And there was no change they were going to make after doing a deep dive unless we work on that first, that misalignment. And when they got aligned, everything changed for the positive.
Yeah. Yes. I wish Barry was on this morning. Barry sits down and he does part of his discovery, as I understand it, and I hope I'm not misspeaking, but part of his discovery is to say, okay, Madam CEO, here's where you want to take the business. Here's where, your personal and professional goals. Great. Then he sits down with each senior leader and says, what are your personal and professional goals? How does the business serve those goals? How long do you plan on being here or not being here? Those types, and he does it completely anonymous and he puts that information in the vault. But then when he sits down to do an alignment, he's not only looking at the alignment on strategic capacity and creating a consensus view, he's also able to account for where Ed wants to be in 5 years. And because we're doing ourselves a disservice if we just assume that our clients, productive and loyal, right? Productive and loyal. How loyal am I going to be if I feel like I'm stuck in a box?
George, I think you hit right on the head with that alignment issue. I think that's one of the things that my cohort there focuses on a lot, and that is getting that team to be aligned and understanding where the leader is trying to drive it. And if they don't agree on that issue, find out what points could be modified to improve that alignment.
It's interesting because this brings us right back to shareholder goal, time-bound, communicated to senior leadership, which is an absolute best practice. Super interesting.
Right on target with the best practices is to keep that all focused together and understanding. And it's best, that's where, if the mission statement clearly articulates the mission of the business, alignment becomes a lot easier. It's when you look at the mission and you ask the senior executives and the owner, how do they understand the mission? 80% of the time, the reason they don't get together is because there's a 20% gap where they don't align, but they don't tell each other.
Yeah. Interesting.
I have an idea on that.
Please, I was about to I was about to call you
We
out.
didn't want to wake him up,
Yeah,
right?
you're sitting there. I can see the wheels turning.
And what about, I've been reading a lot about stories lately.
Yeah.
What about vision, don't get me wrong, vision is very important. I agree with it. Yes, you have to have a vision and it's a great way to run your business. But what about sitting down, George or gentlemen with the leadership and say, okay, George, where do you want to be in 5 years? And George is going to tell me, but George, tell me how we're going to get there. Kind of give me a story of how you're going to get there. So then you kind of realize, is George, Larry, and Ed, and Steve all on the same page? How we're going to get there. We know we want to get to X. Okay, that's great. We all agree about that. But tell us how you plan to get there, George. Kind of tell us a story. And that way it's like, okay, we're knowing the head direction, but are we gonna take different paths to get there?
Yeah, first of all, I love story-based ideation. I think it's a wonderful technique, and a technique or tool for getting people to really verbalize where they want to go and how they believe they're going to get there. And one of the things that we bring to the table as growth drivers that is different is we're saying, okay, you can imagine. So if we do this story-based imagination, we create an imaginary story about how we're going to get there. It's a very educated imagination, right? But if we've completed level 1 or level 2 of the analysis, we can say, okay, yeah, we're bringing outside perspectives. How do we draw on the best practices of the practices of best-in-class businesses to fuel this path? Interesting, Bob. I like it. But it's a great technique, right? It's a facilitation technique. Agreed.
Yeah, Bob, I like that a lot. Sometimes they get a little stuck on forward-looking questions. They have a tough time doing that. So I work backwards. What is it that you want to achieve? What does that look like? What does it feel like? You get to your point, story, emotion, get them to emote that. And then I'll ask what you just did, how you're going to get there. But I also sometimes will ask, you're there, you got there. What did you do differently to get there? What did you have to do better? What did you have to stop doing to get there? Sometimes I ask it with that nuance when I feel that they may get stuck. Bob, you reminded me there's a business owner. He didn't become a client, and I don't think it would have worked out. He runs a $35 million business in high-end plumbing supplies. He has never had a vision. He's never had a goal. He's never had a strategy. Never had a business plan. He's never had a CFO analyze his business. He nets out for his family over $1 million a year, and he's always frustrated. So that's why he thought of hiring me. But he would never do a single darn disciplined thing necessary to get out of his frustration. So in the end, he's going to continue netting for his family over $1 million a year. The business continues to grow, and he just has to accept that's the frustration is his life. But he'll never do anything we ever talk about. No discover, no deep dive, none of that.
And the guy is self-aware enough to have said to you, Larry, problem is I'm never going to do it. You can give me great advice. I'm never going to do it, right? If I recall correctly.
Yeah, we talked about it, George.
And the power of that guy, I just want to hit on this point. Can you put in one word why this business is so successful?
Well, it's how he treats his people.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? One of his managers, who was not very wealthy at all, didn't have a lot of money, got married. He gave him a $20,000 wedding gift. The parents and in-laws of that young man came up to the owner, his name is Larry, and hugged and kissed him and said, "You're the most wonderful man." And this man now is a manager and goes the extra effort. Every employee goes the extra effort because of how he treats them. And two is he has this incredible market savvy. He knows what products to develop, what plumbing he knows, and how to market them. That's all he knows. He told me he honestly doesn't know what a goal or a strategy even is. Because those are just words. I have no idea what they mean.
As long as we're growing, it's an article I want to write, and you hit it, man. Culture, right?
Yeah,
Is
culture
that
makes a difference.
the growth? It is the growth reflex, right? We reflexively want to grow. It's what it's as business owners, as advisors, we have the growth reflex, right? Right. Like very, very similar to whacking you on the knee with a rubber mallet and your leg scoots out. We just can't help it. It's what we want to do. And even, and it's going to be fascinating to see this played out in the data. Even the CEOs who start their journey and just make this thing easier to run, we have so much anecdotal information that eventually you make this business easier to run, and it just starts growing because we're putting in the right processes, procedures. And this is, that's a dimension one. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
Yeah, Ed, we talked about culture. And so my thought on this, so Kathy and I are having Robert Richmond speak. Are you familiar with him at all? And so I'm not sure this is good for the group, but if you know Robert Richmond, he's very dynamic, an international speaker. He's speaking to my CEO peer group. And I'm not sure this would be something that, hey, he's coming to us virtually. If this would be helpful to you all, hey, would you like to come virtually? And would that help you or your clients? So I'm just trying to say, hey, if we can really start leveraging some of this stuff, because we're paying him.
Yep.
And he's not cheap, but we think it's a real value add. But, is this something we can bring to the group, George, and say, hey, listen, we're going to have Robert Richmond speak. You happen to come. He's been a good draw for my CEO peer group.
I'm sure.
I mean, he hits. So I'm sending out to you all. I'm not sure if you want to come, or maybe you have a CEO that says, hey, we're having a culture issue. Hey, listen, I know this thing. I'll just put you on, a Google, an invite, a Zoom invite, and you can show up. So I'm just throwing that out there, George.
I love it, Bob. That's incredibly generous. I would love to be a fly on the wall for that talk.
But it's next Tuesday from 8:30 to 10.
We'll do, we'll just feed the coffee Klatsch into it.
I can say what we'll do is we'll just change the code for coffee Klatsch and dial you in better and get that in instead.
Well, I mean, you just let me know what you want, but I mean, I'm just trying to think, would this be stuff that maybe I diverge, but you talked about culture. Is there other things we could do within the group, George, that to help leverage, everybody's, I can help Ed's group, I can help Steve's group, I can help Larry's group, or people, clients, maybe not groups. So I didn't mean to diverge, but there you go.
No, Bob, that's a good idea and incredibly generous. And it's from next Tuesday from 9:30 to 10.
No, 8:30 to 10, 8:30 to 10 Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, well,
What's the topic that he speaks about?
It's culture. You can Google Robert Richmond, and you will see he's an international speaker. He's very dynamic, very, very dynamic. I mean, and he has some things that we're going to do during the meeting. You can't do virtually, but you'll get the point.
yeah.
I would say one of the things we might think about, George, is if we can dial in and record the session so that we can splice and edit it to make some talking points for November. Because I think that'd be an awesome item to put forth, at our conference, to put issues that you encounter with clients who have struggles with culture.
As long as that doesn't violate Bob's agreement, I
have to look at it. Kathy, Kathy's read it now. Surprise.
Yeah.
Well, culture is the, what's interesting, guys. So if you, and I think I said this in a recent video, but if you want to imagine a really positive culture, look at the Clarity Level 1 report and go down to the last section where it says, essentially imagine running a business where the answers to these questions is yes. And if you read down the 24 growth driving objectives and say yes in your mind to each one, imagine the culture of that business, right? I mean, just imagine that culture. Imagine that as a story. In fact, in my book, we used AI, early AI, right? Early Chat GPT. I think it was Chat 3, but I used it to write a story based on what would if we were to narrate this, what would it look like? And it's a really compelling story about a business. Very cool. Well, if you send me an invitation, or if you post an invitation in the community, Bob, up to you. I'm happy to discuss whatever you want to do. It's
I'll send it to you. You can send it out, George, whatever you think, because I'll need to put you on the Zoom invite.
okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, see, I cannot make it. See if it's allowed to be recorded, but only within a small community, meaning I don't think it's right for me to take it and then send it out to anyone. That I think that would violate any agreement. But
I would agree.
yeah, I mean, I just signed a contract for three speaking engagements, and we had to go back and forth on a few things on similar, right? I don't want, in the end, they're allowed, the organization is allowed to use it as many times as they want, and I'm allowed, but anyway, so I'd like to listen to it because I can't make it, but I would never send it to anyone.
Well, and if you end up needing to discuss it with him, anything we would do, we would obviously have very clear attribution to him as the owner of the IP.
Okay.
Even with a reference link. I mean, I'm not in his, well,
Yeah, I just messaged him on LinkedIn to tell him, Bob Parent just told me about you. And so my purpose would be to learn, do I bring him into my peer group? That type of thing.
You might want to reference Kathy Bradford. He's going to know me, but Kathy's been doing the most of the communication.
Hey, can we shift gears for a sec, guys?
Sure.
I had a wonderful conversation yesterday with Fletcher Brown, who's the new CEO at BEI, the Business Enterprise Institute, home of the Certified Exit Planning Credential, home of the Owner-Based Planning course. And we had a great conversation. That is an organization that is on the move. We are kindred spirits, meaning they are interested in not just talking about exit planning, but they are really interested in helping their community write good plans, and importantly, do the plans, right? Execute those plans. And if you think about how we view the world and how they view the world, it's there's a really strong synergy there. So more to follow, but they've dropped a gear and punched the gas, and it's going to be interesting to watch. They have some announcements that it's not my place to make, but they have some cool announcements coming up. So stay tuned. And
do they have a meeting scheduled before our fall meeting?
they do their conference, and guys, let's talk as a community about having a presence there. Their conference is August 12th to 14th at the Four Seasons in Denver. It is I went last year. I was super chuffed about my experience. And I would, if you're going to go to, other than our conference, if you're going to go to a conference, this is a good one to go to. Last year I went and I just bought a ticket to get in and walked around and really had a great time. Made several new friends, guys who have joined this community actually, and men and women who have joined this community. Really quality event. So August.
Any chance we can get a speaking opportunity there?
Miles ahead of you, man.
Well, we need somebody besides George. I mean, we got a few of us that can step up and do that.
100%, Ed. The Ed and George show is hitting the road again, coming soon.
That'd be awesome.
A conference near you. Yeah, it's a so anyway, BEI's got some cool things coming out. So, although we are not exit planners per se, we do talk, we do focus on transferable value and creating high value capacity so that a business actually has a good chance of successfully completing due diligence and earning a high multiple. And that's the name of the game. And strong intersection on what I call business growth and continuity planning, what they call owner-based planning, but business growth and continuity planning as a subset of what we do. I mean, we do business growth planning all the time, but it's that focus on protecting cash and ensuring continuity, succession planning, making sure that all of a lot of the risk has been boiled out of the business, or the risk has at least been addressed with advanced planning and insurance. A lot of business owners don't. What do business owners, guys? Business owners think that debt is horrible, right? And they brag about the fact that they don't have any debt. Debt is a wonderful business tool, right? Business owners think that they don't have much risk, and in fact, when we open the hood, we can see that it's I mean, there's risk. There are a lot of risks in the business, but there's nothing. And John Brown makes this point: there is essentially no risk for which you cannot purchase insurance. Some of it quite inexpensively, or it's an investment with a huge ROI.
Right.
An insurance, man, you pray you never need it, but if you need it, I go down a rabbit hole. But if you go into execute guidance in the effective senior leadership area, and you click on the read more for succession planning, there is some really solid guidance there on what to do. And if you think about the expense associated and how easily you might be able to cover that expense with insurance, there's an intersection. And what a great reason to talk to an insurance advisor COI, right? What a great reason to talk to a financial wealth advising COI, because there's a direct what's in it for them. And I was on last night with a really significant family office, really significant. And it's a family office that is on the move. And these are exactly the conversations they want to have. And when we talked about execution, they were thrilled that there is a cohort and a growing cohort of senior pros. And when I said our average member has 3.7 credentials, that was landing a punch. They liked it. So there's a lot of synergies here. They're looking at the family office is looking at it from a wealth advisory and insurance perspective, right? Tax planning, wealth advisory.
Yep.
And they have a relatively, to use Francis Brown's, are you a 1 or a 5? They really want to be a 3, right? They want to write plans, they want to write growth plans, and then they want to be the godparent. Am I still allowed to say godfather? They want to godfather the execution of the plan. They want to collaborate, be kept in the loop, but this is not their strength. Any one of you would be a great person to lead the execution. And so if there's some exciting stuff going on.
Well, I'll share. Joe and I met with a gentleman that's a general manager of a $90 million agricultural operation. And one of the things that he's got as challenges, of course, is that they keep expanding and they're growing. And he's the first non-family member to lead this division. They have two other divisions, one doing $40 million and another one doing $20 million. And when we talked, turns out that I'm an absolutely perfect match for them, but I let Joe take the engagement because he's going to be there and be the pain that'll get them to move and act. And I'll be the behind the scenes advisor. But it's exactly this challenge when you have a non-family member and they think that they want to put family members in place in some of the other key positions, but they've never done the jobs in the company. How will you destroy the if you say the culture if they've never worked in the business and suddenly are going to take over running or be the CEO of that business? How will they impact the culture?
Yeah.
And that's the challenge that I'm asking. Joe's worried about the details of how the partners, how the people in one of the divisions all work together. I'm saying, but what's about the culture?
Yeah.
And he's in the details right now. I'm looking at it in a little bit different picture.
Culture, culture, culture. That's three wax on the culture piñata this morning. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome, Ed. That's awesome. Congratulations, by the way. So, hey, Ed, I've got to ask, how's your production? How's your workload?
I got 2 more valuations to get drafted out this week, and I'll be done.
Well, you'll be done for now.
Yeah, I've already gotten calls and have to send out proposals. So my golf game is getting impeded by work.
So you're back in Ohio.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the weather's been terrible. Yesterday was 80. Today it's supposed to be 70. Tomorrow it's going to be 79. Then we're back to 80 again.
Where do you live in Ohio, Ed?
Columbus.
I'm from Cleveland.
Oh, okay. Well, and I grew up in New York State, so I'm,
Okay.
everybody here bitches and moans about cold weather. I said they don't understand cold
You
weather.
do not understand. You've spent a winter in Minnesota and upstate New York. Upstate New York.
Well, that's growing up in Rochester and then living in Orchard Park, New York. I'd seen enough snow and enough cold off the lake. I know exactly what cold weather is. And the irony is that we got a blast of really cold weather about a week and a half ago. After we had thought we were going to head to spring, we lost it, and now it's coming in. Now we're turning to summer.
Yeah.
Hey, George, I need to give you Kathy a shout out. She got her first big engagement yesterday, and she's going at 11:30 now to get another one, hopefully.
Awesome.
Awesome.
That's
So
awesome.
she is.
Please give her congratulations to you and to her. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, so she went through the growth draft. So thank you, George.
Oh no, keep going on that. I got a good soundbite there. She went
So Bob,
Yeah, George,
Kathy is doing all this work. What do you do?
I'm a cheerleader, Larry.
That's good. That's good. Someone's got to motivate the team,
Yeah.
So,
Steve, you're from upstate New York too, right?
me?
Steve.
He's a Vermont
Yes,
boy.
I am.
Yeah.
Yep.
Upstate New York, Vermont, and Minneapolis.
And so just a glutton for cold.
Yeah.
Minnesota is a different, and we'll talk about business, not weather, but Minnesota is a different animal when it comes to winter. People perceive that, for example, New Hampshire, where I used to live, is really cold in the winter, and it's plenty cold, but it's nothing compared to Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Hiker. Yep. So I went to college in upstate New York. I understand the snow issue very, very well. And man, is it cold for a long time. So, what else?
George, you sent a text to me yesterday, real quick, I guess, to take a look at an OKR thing.
Yeah.
An app from, I've heard of the organization.
Yeah.
Didn't work for me. I have to give it online on the phone. It didn't work as an app.
So
It's interesting because I was talking about it yesterday.
Yeah, it's ClearPoint Strategy.
ClearPoint Strategy. I've heard of it. Yep.
They are doing something that we that's on our technology roadmap. I mean, they're not doing it because they don't look at the outside world and they rely, like EOS does, on an internal understanding, a native understanding of what needs to be done. The OKRs they generate are internally driven, which is it's not wrong, right? And that is better than doing and much better than doing nothing. We are and I've said this publicly, and that's a reason that AI is so prominent. One of the reasons AI is so prominently placed in our summit here in September. We have built the entire platform so that when now the hull is almost done, and we are going to go in with AI and do that type of work. And I'll leave it there, not to share too many internal secrets, but we're going to layer AI to make your worlds better, easier, and effective, highly customized planning and execution guidance for clients. And I'll just leave it there. But they're out there. Someone's using AI to basically take a survey and turn it into OKRs. Great. It's a project planning tool at the end of the day, as is Cascade, another project planning tool. They don't have a methodology attached to them. So they're kind of 90.io-esque. I think they're competitive with 90. 90's claim to fame is having started as EOS's dashboard generator and have evolved nicely and dealt there's a talk about a great story. EOS called them one day and said, go pound sand, and tried to develop their own software. That did not end well. And everybody thinks creating software is easy. That did not end well for EOS. And my understanding is there was a bit of a rebellion. EOS is now using 90.io again, but it caused 90 to say, we have a customer concentration issue. And Mark over there, the CEO, led a wonderful job of saying, right, okay, well, we're going to work with scaling up and Pinnacle guides and Metronomics, and we're going to support a variety of different business operating systems, not just this one. And there are people in our community using 90. So, and that's another conversation that, are you using it, Bob?
Yeah.
I would love to have a conversation, get 2 or 3 of you who are using 90, and let's have a conversation like this where if you're willing to share, here's what it looks like.
Well, and Kathy has done that for clients. She when she brings it into consulting, she brings in 90.
He brings in 90. Got it.
Oh yeah, she did a 90-minute meeting for one of her clients today. So yeah, she's the one to reach out to, George. I think you can
I love it.
tell where all the brains are.
The brains and the beauty.
Well, Joe Lorenz is very into the 90.io. He's got like 3 clients or 4 clients on 90.io, plus the new one that we're looking at that's got this 90 million. He's going to put them on it. Okay. Because it's the only way, because they have operations in 6 different locations in Ohio. And in order to collaborate with the managers at all those locations, right now it's easy with their cell phone, but he wants to put them on 90.io so that they can monitor actions and planning and execution at each location. And they've never had somebody that wanted to do that.
But again, and 90, again, great tool, does not have a methodology. Right?
Correct.
Not a methodology. It is a tool. And Steve, by the way, did you like my blog post last week? It was based on our conversation. I don't know if you had a chance to read it.
I did. I,
You respectfully disagree.
I have comments on that, but not today.
So,
Yes.
yeah,
I can tell Steve's in a rain zone today.
yeah,
His connection is more interrupted than the raindrops.
yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of activity out there, guys, and it's interesting, it's funny. Are you seeing the level of enthusiasm and optimism that I am out there in your clients? Are you seeing
Absolutely.
something else? Yeah, it's surprising because if you read, what we should normally with the economic news we're seeing, people would be pulling in might be pulling in their horns, but there's a lot of optimism and enthusiasm out there for the market. Oh, we lost Steve.
Yeah, he said he had to jump to another meeting.
Okay, got it. I missed that. Larry, you were saying?
Oh, no. I would say I could not say yes to that throughout the winter. I couldn't, I would say absolutely not.
Yeah, you and I had this conversation.
That if something happens in the Northeast when spring hits, people view life and business a little differently. And I tend to look at, when I reflect back on many of my business opportunities, they tend to happen during the spring and fall.
Mhm.
Less in that December, January, February timeframe, and certainly not much in the summer in terms of getting people to move and act. I think there is in parts of the country, and for me, that a seasonality to how people view life and view their business and make decisions around business. So, yeah. So I would say in the last couple of weeks, even running the peer group 2 weeks ago, it was a beautiful day out that day. And it was just an energy in the room from the group that I can't say was there 2 months earlier.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. I'm going to take a quick screenshot here. Everybody smile. This is going to be our cover.
Get the head off. We can't see him.
There we go. Thanks, guys. That'll be the cover for this week's Klatsch. That published later today.
So, George, did you go to the ClearPoint strategy? I'm on the website now for their AI tool. Did you actually play with it and give them?
I have not.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to. They want email. They want, they're chit-chatty with you and saying hi.
They're generating a lead, right?
And I don't know if I want to do it. So I know where it's going and it's fine. I'm going to put in what goals and they're going to throw out my goals written as OKRs. So
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I'm not going to continue.
I'm not going to continue.
No, I don't want to.
Interesting to see these early AI-driven services or AI-driven planning, if you will, out in the market. Yeah.
George, if you don't mind, one more. Have you spoken to Eileen yet from Chicago area?
We have a meeting set. I believe it's later this week.
Okay, because she completed Clarity 1.
Okay.
For a real client. She put in a fake name, but she completed it for a real client.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I have it up right now.
Have you spoken with her since she did that?
No, I saw it last night.
Got it.
Come through, and I just opened it now. So
Great.
it's on my screen to look. I haven't even reviewed it much, but I'll look at it after the call.
Yeah.
So,
George, on another note, kind of in that vein, I interviewed Pam Jordan, a Pivot Business Group. She said
Really?
she's been
Okay.
Talking with you.
Yep.
She's in my trusted advisors group.
Okay.
But she is she does a lot of public speaking. She's a pistol.
She is. Yeah, I like her.
Yeah, so she's a profit first in that. I'm going to her, but so that's just an FYI, So yeah, I did interview her. So has anybody, when you guys do interviews, I do them in person, so maybe I can get some help on this. And so I'm getting them edited and I want to put them on LinkedIn.
Okay.
You know, you
Sure.
think I'm better, it's about 15 minutes long.
Okay.
Is that about right, or?
Yeah, so this is just general advice. You can use technologies like castmagic.io or riverside.fm to take that 15-minute interview, which I think the generally accepted format is to be able to publish the whole interview and then have outtakes from the interview that you have as either really short sound bites or 1-minute outtakes. And then you can publish those on social media. And if you use Cast Magic, you can also create cards, small graphics that have a quote. Cast Magic is a really cool piece.
Is it with a J or a G?
G, castmagic.io. And if you decide you're going to buy, please let me know. I might be able to save you a few bucks. So, and guys, and affinity program. So we're upgrading, well, keep our referral program in place. We're adding an affinity program through which if you meet someone and it's a significant commission because we're putting the sales and marketing on the affiliate, and you sign them up, you will receive a commission of 30% for the first year of their contract. So there's several people who are have been asking for this, and we'll be publishing it. We'll probably finish the work by next week. There's just a little tech issue that we need to try to work around, as there is with everything, right? So, we have the two systems and they're working perfectly, but they're not quite syncing. So, and that's because of the click tracking, which, you've now outstripped my technical know-how. But, but yeah, we've never had I've been doing this for, I think this is my 13th year, right? Or going into my 14th year, something. I have to go and do that math, but never what we have with Growth Drive, never in our history have we've received more referrals this year already than in the last 12 years combined, by far and away.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of people saying, hey, you got to talk to these guys, and which is, again, not a bad sign. Not a bad sign. So
I'm gonna run.
you got to run. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, it's almost been an hour. Anything else I kick around before we hang up?
No,
Great to see you.
Nope.
thank you,
You're in
gentlemen.
great shape.
Okay. Bob, Ed, fantastic.
Yeah,
Great
thanks.
conversation.
Okay.
Thank you. Talk soon.
Take
Bye.
care.